Clarissa Retamoza.
Hi, Tabatha.
Hi. We are live on all the platforms and we are going to discover some things about you. First of all, who are you? What do you do? What are you passionate about? Let us know.
So, I'm Clarissa Retamoza. I'm a U.S. Army veteran that can't speak this morning. I'm also an actor and a writer, and I have a 15-year-old daughter that is pretty awesome. So, yeah, I like to paint and skate and get in accidents. But yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Wow. So, Army vet, mother, actor, writer. And then you have your hobbies, which is
Yeah.
great. We have to have those.
Yeah.
Um, in the world of acting,
Mhm.
I don't know how Miss Deb came down the line, but I know I sent the sides over to Talent Direct Agency. And
Mhm.
then there were, again, I had been started casting this process in 2019, the end of, and then with the expectation or hope to go into production in 2020. Well, COVID happened.
Mhm.
So I was like going to scratch, some year plus ago, and got your self tape.
Mhm.
Did you have the opportunity to choose this, or did TDA just go, "Hey, we think you might like this"?
Well, they sent it to me, and then and asked if I would confirm, or decline, and then I seen your name, and I'm like, oh my God, like of course. And so yeah, they sent it to me, and I looked over it, and I immediately, felt I felt a need for Miss Deb in the world, like. And so I was so excited just to be able to play her as a character and really, you know, get into her. She's a very complex onion. So it was very fun to kind of add all of these emotions on top of each other, but stay so together.
You were very, I don't know if you watched Mia Bella's,
Yes, I did.
and she called you a very serious clown.
Yeah.
She's like a clown, but very serious.
I loved that. Oh my God, she made me laugh. Yes.
Because she didn't know, I don't think any of the young actors could understand the dynamic and the power play that was expected of them. Again, we were working with 5 and 6 year olds, so
Mhm.
that's scary. You're coming in with an intensity they're not used to. They're like, oh, when I feel or see that energy, I stop, freeze. And we're like, no, 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 you have to respond. And
Yeah.
it's just a wild time. Who is Miss Deb to you?
To me, Miss Deb was she is a woman that, kind of always had it all together. She had, in high school, she, was very social and she had friends, and she ends up marrying her high school sweetheart. And, you know, when he passes is, I think, for me, the way I interpreted her is she was still not at the point of acceptance from her grief from her husband. So she didn't really replan a life for herself, and she continued to walk in the same shoes that she was in her marriage. So she still, had the same plans for her house to look the same way, to have a family, to have these things, but without the other person is where her dilemma came about. And in the acting for me, because those things were still so relevant and important to her, but she she kind of had that bitter, like the resentment of it all, having to do it on her own, you know.
I think her loss of control and then needing for control, you
Yes.
you played out very well, as because that was the outside of the onion. Like, we could
Mm-hmm.
tell Deb was a control freak.
Yes.
She needed things to be orderly. She needed things to go her way.
Mm-hmm.
And she worked very hard to have that life.
Mm-hmm.
So to her, it's just expected. And I think the dynamic that we see between you and Samantha coming from absolute chaos to now this very structured scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And how that plays out is, well, you will soon see.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Um, and yeah, so Miss Deb is such a curious character. And you, again, with the self tape, the second I saw it, I was like, no way. How does someone get the character so fully and all you've seen is a page?
Yeah.
And yeah, so you gave her a new life, because I was like, well, she couldn't look like this. She could be like this. She had some flexibility, but
Mm-hmm.
the way you took it on, I was like, that's it. That there was no question. It was it. And it was awesome. You knew exactly how she would dress, how she would be. You literally gave her a life.
Thank
So
you for giving me the opportunity to bring her to life for you. And I'm so happy to hear that you are happy with her outcome.
no,
Yeah.
dynamic. I have a little clip to show. I think it just came out today.
Ooh.
Let's see a little snippet of Miss Deb.
Okay, sweetie. Your plate goes like this.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, it's such a neat environment.
Yes.
It was like a little playground for Miss Deb. I mean, it was her world.
Yeah.
And the art department and everyone visually like did such a fantastic job. And of course, that location was just with the wood paneling and the 1970s motif. It was just perfect. And so tell me a little bit, well, what attracted you to the role and what was the process for you to get into character?
So what attracted me to the role was Miss Deb. She had, like, I personally am a widow, so I know the process of grief, and I think that to be able to use that, which I've worked on in therapy first before using it as a craft, but to be able to go into that place and be able to put it on, like, be vulnerable in front of the camera was really that was a big thing for me there. Sorry, I'm getting lost in my head right now. My thoughts are going too many at a time. But repeat it to me one more time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, your process to get
Yeah.
into character.
Yeah, so I used sense memory. I also used Stanislavski method, who, what, when, where, and why. And I allowed myself to relive emotions in those moments, that I think was why it came off how it did, because it was so genuine of a feeling that you normally don't want people to see you, like, in that position, but being able to allow yourself to go there and experience it, that was something that I really was proud of at the end of the day, because I was able to go in and come out, you know, and it wasn't effective of, you know, my mood, or because I was using my own, you know, memories to get there. It really was nice for the environment around to be able to come out of character once that we were done, and it not torture me inside, you know. So that's like a big thing that I have learned with acting in the process of, you know, what's dangerous and what's you can and can't do for your mental health along with the process of it as well. So yeah, I was really happy that I got to use this technique specifically for Miss Deb, because she deserved it, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you had so much to pull on, not
Mm-hmm.
only in your personal life, but in the technical understanding of acting and methods. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's just rich and wonderful. You
Yeah.
know, um, you did so much behind the scenes. And I don't want to talk about all the breakdowns until my interview, but
Yes.
thank you for stepping up to the plate and like coming through on all things that had, you know, critically happened. Like for some reason, when there's a project that means so much to you, all these little boundaries and hurdles and challenges start popping up, and
Yeah.
you're like, little fires everywhere, and you've just got to like hope that you have the right team that can just barrel through and pull together. And again, it was so fun because watching everyone do their highest and best contributions for each scene, oh, that's a fantastic feeling. I mean, that's the magic of movies, right?
Yeah. Yes. It
So
really.
it was a pleasure to have you. And how does this role differ from other roles you've taken on?
This role, it was a little bit different because I haven't worked with too many child actors, like one on one like that. And the cool thing was like I had a little bit of time to talk to Mia Bella, like first, you know, and get to know her so that she could know that like I didn't want her to be too scared, you know. I think that happened when we were doing the casting call before. So, you know, I wanted to talk to her a little bit, and, you know, let her. It was cool to be able to share that with a child. Like, okay, I might sound a little weird, but it's because, you know, being mean makes me allergic. That's what I told her. So I was like, so my face might start doing some weird stuff, but don't worry, it's all good. Um, so that was really cool and different for me that I haven't had the opportunity to do before.
I think you also having the role of being a mother in real life.
Yeah.
I saw you behind the scenes in the room with Mia Bella, and you were perfectly parting her hair in the behind the scenes video. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, I did not even know Clarissa did her hair. Like you just naturally stepped into certain roles, and I bet that assisted in that kind of bonding, because we have all these wonderful photos of you guys laughing and
Yeah.
just eating it up in the room back there.
Yeah, and I think that was so important, and I'm really glad that you chose to do that, because or the decision for us to be able to, you know, get to know each other a little bit at first was really helpful, because yeah, like once we got there and it was like her and I, you know, kind of at it, I feel like she got to really open up a lot more, and that made it so much more comfortable and pleasing for everyone, you know, in the process. I
Mhm.
think. So that was so cool. Like I loved that. And doing her hair was so cute. I was like, oh my God, like, hold on, it's not good enough. Hold on, we gotta go back. Like, because I had to be perfect and do it perfect as Miss Deb, like I kept no. Like, you know, and it's funny because those things come out and yeah, start to build that character and that moment. Yeah.
It was perfect. And then the way, you know, the way we rehearsed it versus what is happening in the props and everything on the day of set, it's like you adjusting her collar and perfectly placing this and moving things that don't need moved just to underline the kind of perfection that Miss Deb is looking for all the time. What a tough thing for a kid. Because Mia Bella was like, do I laugh? Do I cry? What do I do?
I know, and I would be like talking to her, and then we're like, okay, we're gonna start, like, and then her and I would just like zone into one another. You know, she was so easy to work with, really, and that's what I loved about the experience too, because she just was like there with me, you know, and she really gave me so much to work with as an actor as well. So it was awesome.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
it's just I don't know how to explain it. I think we'll see it, but it's such kind of like a music box scene. There's this sort of creepier music box score to introduce you both. And like, this is what perfect could look like. But we know as an audience, like, this is far from a perfect dynamic. You know, there's something unhealthy here. And the audience doesn't know the backstory of Miss Deb yet. So, you know, they may not, I don't think any of the characters have yet this, what do you call that when you want to give them some empathy and compassion, you know, but it's not built in the first 15 minutes, but it's showcased that these are offbeat characters throughout the film.
Yeah.
So that's so much fun for me.
Yes.
What was the most challenging part for you?
I think the most challenging part for me had to have been getting my hair perfect. No, but it was really like, I think that OCD really like I just like getting ready for her. I was already there, and it was like not enough. Like it was that kind of led through the day that when we were filming, is like I just noticed that like that it was so obvious to me, but it actually became like something that just naturally happened, you know, like because I knew that of her. Like I couldn't, I was like trying so hard to get her perfect enough that it worked out, you know, like because that's what she actually was trying to do, except, you know, I was trying to be perfect enough for Miss Deb, and in that it resulted into the happy, you know, like one of those happy accidents, you know, like so.
I think the audience gets to see a little bit of the making of, so a portion of your self-tape is on there, and you know, it's so wild when you're watching the self-tape to the actual film, but it didn't shift very much. It was very close, you know. That's why I was like, when an actor just gets it, it's beyond ecstatic, you know. You're like, whoa, there's no big notes, you've got it, you know. And I know your part was because you didn't really get to come into, you have a completely separate scene, completely separate life, but you know where she's coming from, and those actors who are building the pre-part of this scene, it's so the opposite. Just absolutely gritty, dirty, raw. And now she's with you, and it's perfect, pretty, neat. And you're like, wow, what a dynamic range.
Yeah, definitely.
What about a highlight for you? I think you mentioned or gave a nod to working with a child actor. That was also a
Yeah.
highlight for me, especially at the age of 5. That's a
Yeah.
very, like, they understand acting, but yet they don't understand acting. You know,
Yeah.
like they're just starting to get the world.
Yes. But it's so easy for them to just tap into, like, they don't really have to, like, they don't overthink, I think. You know, it's like they're just like, you know, like you tell them, okay, you're gonna feel like this, and I want you to see this. And then, like, it's so easy for them to just go there. I mean, with her, she was so open to just, she was great, you know. Um, so yeah, that was a huge highlight, and everybody was so sweet on set. And it was funny, when I was leaving, some of the crew, they were outside and they were like, you know, we were wondering like how this like little sunray, like a sun, like ball of sunshine is gonna like pull this character out, you know, like. And I was like, yeah, I don't know, in real life, I like, you know, I'm very social and a happy person, but I love playing those dark and like more not villainous characters, but you know, those like rough characters that have so much, so many layers, you know.
It's, yeah, I call it grit because
Yeah.
even Miss Deb was gritty.
Hmm.
We just didn't fully understand why. But
Hmm.
I would love the opportunity to continue the story.
Right.
You
Aiming.
know,
Great.
absolutely. So, did you walk away with any insights?
Yes, I feel like after being on this set and it was your passion film, you know, like, um and I'm a writer, and it just is, I think that you really inspired me to want to take my writing to another level. You know what I mean? Like seeing, you know, all of the pieces of stuff coming together, and your creation, like the people that you created are here now, and it's like it's a world. You created a world, you know, and it's so beautiful. And I think that seeing that and the dedication that you've put into it and the time, like I I walked away feeling like really inspired and like really good about doing this project, you know. So thank you so much for being such an inspiring woman, like for other filmmakers, and you know.
Aw,
Yeah. Yeah. So
shucks.
not trying to make you blush or anything. Just kidding.
Well, I think it's such a labor of love. It's also
Yeah.
a labor of forgiveness. It's a labor of logistics. It's a labor of little fires everywhere. It's
Mhm.
so many, many, many decisions to make. And it all starts with the words on paper.
Yeah.
And then you develop, hopefully, your budget.
Yeah.
And then you bring on that first producer. And,
Mhm.
and in that case, it was me.
Mhm.
I wanted to produce it so badly, and I knew what it would take. And I
Yeah.
didn't have the budget to afford a producer for the amount of months I would need them
Yeah.
in the pre-production to production and post to see the whole thing through.
Yes.
And I absolutely adore filmmaking. I think that I don't think this is a story for everyone. This
Mhm.
is a niche audience. I have
Mhm.
my apprehensions, anxieties, and considerations and concerns.
Mhm.
I also have the fearlessness and excitement around for the right people. They're going to sit down and pop popcorn and say, yeah, let's,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. And for people who maybe this isn't for, maybe they can be a little conditioned or open to new ways of empathically seeing different people in those environments. Like, wow, I've never experienced this, but there's a whole world of people who do.
Yeah.
No, we're talking about the underbelly of society. Many people turn their head because these are the addicts of the world, the mental health abusers, the this, the that, like it's like too messy.
Yeah.
I would rather keep away from that lifestyle.
But that's, I think, what I love about it as well, is because of the fact that, I mean, I don't want to go in too much to, everything the chaos that's happening in the world right now, but, we are faced with we get some news updates about certain things that are happening throughout the world, but even in our own society, like we hush and cover that. When I like writing psychological thrillers, so I'm all about like that world. Yeah. Like, so like finding those people and those things and those moments that we're too embarrassed to show people, like those personal moments, and or those things, like there's so much chaos and so much richness that you can use to really promote something that people may not see every day, but we all know that it's happening, you know. So yeah, I mean, I think that it's like you said, having empathy, because there's so much stuff that gets desensitized these days, so like having something where you can sit there and you can see something for what it is and walk out, hopefully, like having your eyes more open and understanding people on a deeper level,
Absolutely. I think that's the like a responsibility as an artist. And then also the human condition is so deep and rich, and it's so layered that everyone can do a story on the psychology or understanding of any level of folk, whether it be the middle class struggle, the lower class struggle, the upper class, like it doesn't matter. But write something and if you don't know it, have people at the table who do know it.
Yeah.
For those checks and balances, to really be sure that you have an honest story. And I really want to read some psychological. I love psycho thriller. It's probably my favorite genre outside of trauma drama, and anything that's dark and honest, I'm in.
Right? Yes.
I have more questions for you.
Awesome.
And then we can go off scripts totally. What was your favorite scene to film? You only filmed your one scene, so that is kind of null and void.
Yeah. I went and done. I went in hard, and I, got a home run.
Scene, which was one of my favorites because we were all cozy. Every other environment was harsh.
Yeah.
And then you kind of said this, if there was any highlights or a person that stood out to you on set. We know Mia Bella did because she was the star.
The star of the show. I see you, girl.
And she's so cute on her interview.
I loved it. Oh my God. She's so awesome. Yeah, she was so awesome. And she was I loved her. She was very confident, and she just, she listened really well. Like, she was a pleasure to work with. So thanks for picking an awesome kid.
Yeah.
Tongues all over the place today.
Well, what was so curious about the child actor is, obviously you need them to perform in such a way, right? So very specifically, but you need their parent or parent's guardian, whomever is their, person in charge of the said child, to be 100% on board.
Yeah.
Because you're able to cheat all of the scenes. Like, she doesn't have to be a part of any of the negative stuff, but it's going to be edited in such a way that like she is in the environment. And Mia Bella can't ever actually watch the film until she's 18 or 20 or
you can see your little parts.
so I'm like, oh, that's such a bummer. She'll be able to see her demo reel, little moments, but she will not be able to watch the whole film. So I just find that to be so funny, and just knowing that like, the parents have to okay that, and that it's a very gritty film, and are they really truly okay? I had one parent early on, and she said, no, this is too heavy of a film. And I said, completely understand, totally agree, it is.
Yeah.
But we are not exposing the actor to anything. We're able to cheat every scene.
Yeah.
So that was a big protection. And yeah, that's the end of my rant.
No, but that's yeah. So it's a whole thing. So like having a child, yeah, they see the fun in it, and they don't have to see like the harshness of it, unless if they really want to or the parent allows them to. But yeah, it's just so cool though that like she has her parents that are supporting her to already have a career for herself as well. Like I wish that my parents would have done that, like, but we're here.
Wow, and look at the way opportunities and technology and obviously social media and a number of other things have propelled us in a number of ways. When I was younger, I remember they did talent scouting at malls, and you would go line up, and then you would get on this kind of stage and you do your thing, and maybe they call you, maybe they don't, but it was very, very different than now. You are your own agency. You can literally do whatever you want, and be your own everything. It's just absolutely amazing.
Yeah. You can have your own show, you can have your own films, you can have like, and that's what's crazy too, is to think about it. Like I was born in the 80s, so like even thinking about, when I first got a phone or having a pager or, like coding on MySpace, because how else are you going to get a picture up there, like, and now it's just a click of a button for everything. And we have so much opportunity for advancement, and it's so awesome. When I was actually still in film school getting my bachelor's during the pandemic, and when I went through that, like everything kind of transitioned for actors as well. Like, you're self-taping now, and you can submit anywhere, like you don't have to be there anymore, or like some auditions you still go in person, but most of them, they just self-tape everything. So it's the convenience of it. And I was glad I was in school at the time, because I feel like we were the pioneers. Like we had to continue acting like online. Like what else are we going to do? We're going to acting school and we can't be around people, so it was challenging, and a lot of people quit school during the pandemic, but I there were some of us that really like came through, and we finished, and it was, I feel like I got a lot of tools that I wouldn't have known if I wasn't in school going through it as it was being created for us now, so it's really interesting how much the last 4 years has changed.
And well, it's interesting is probably the best word for it, because there were positives and negatives, and it was just such a dynamic shift, and people were like pivot, 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 and some people could, some people absolutely could not. It really depended on your industry.
Yeah.
But, you know, just like with anything, it opened doors for a lot of people to have freedoms that they wouldn't have otherwise had. It also closed a lot of doors. So it was just like, it was a really wild time. But I remember talking about Pit Bulls and Piranhas, you know, from that time, and going on interviews and doing everything, and like super hopeful that this was only going to be 2 weeks and we would just get back to producing.
Yeah.
And it was 3 years of waiting.
I know. I went when the pandemic happened, they told us we were going to be out of school for 2 weeks. So I'm like, oh, like at the time, my husband was living in Egypt, and so it's like, let me go to Egypt for for 2 weeks, perfect time, and then I'll be right back for school. 2 days after, my flight got canceled, and I got stuck there for 5 months because of the borders.
Gosh. Oh my gosh.
So like, but it taught me resilience. Like I continued going to school, like using internet that was super choppy in Egypt while I was supposed to be in Florida, you know, and my daughter was with my mom, luckily, in California. So like my time like was all over the place, you know. It was crazy, but it was overcoming that, I think, like, in that time. And then I think it really showed me resilience in myself, because after his death, I was in 2020, so I just put all of my energy into my acting and my school, and it just flourished, you know. I used all of that energy, and instead of being in a negative place, I just like invested it and honed in to the craft, and like tried to digest as much information to distract me from the reality of what everything was, you know. But it made me such a better person at the end of the day, you know. I don't know.
Yeah. How do you think that informs your filmmaking, like your writing style? And have you produced any of your writings yet?
So when I was in school, I did produce a short that I had done with my daughter, actually, and it was on the death of her father, like dealing with grief, you know, with a child, with a teenager, you know, trying to navigate her way without the other parent, you know. And other than that, right now I have a feature that I'm writing with John Maria, my colleague, and we that one's a psychological thriller. It's a you know, at a retreat at a lake house that, you know, goes wrong. But I have been working in a women's trauma group through the VA. And so I use cognitive behavioral therapy. Like they have a workbook. So it really like makes you break down like your triggers, or, you know, any kind of thing that um, is it coming up in a negative way in your life, and kind of just like write it down, and then you break it down, like if you're in court and you're against yourself or you're for yourself, like what are the, you know, like, are you feeling guilty, like should you feel guilty for this, or, you know, it really like makes you look at your triggers to help you untangle them from like other things that maybe aren't a danger, or, you know, aren't really going to happen. You're just paranoid because something has happened in the past, you know. It's I feel like with acting, like therapy is super important as well, and it's so helpful even to understand the psychology of a character, you know, because you may never do something, but this character might do it, you know? So why would they do that? And you really, like, to give a truthful performance, you have to really try to find that understanding in your character, you know, and not judge them.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, there are some offbeat, unforgiving characters in this film.
yes.
And one of my concerns is if I trigger, and I should say when I trigger certain folk in the audience, people who are not the niche market and maybe didn't fully understand what they were walking into, because they're supporting an actor, supporting me, and you know, they just were like, viewer discretion is advised. What does that mean? There's nods to animal cruelty as well as domestic violence and a number of other offbeat moral dilemmas.
Yeah.
So I have reached, but I haven't gotten a response to a CBT and DBT therapist who I'm hoping to get 1 to 2 just to have it for security and safety. I'd rather have and not than somebody be like, wow, I'm really triggered. I need to leave or some, you know, and walk out and be emotional. I don't think it's that. But here's the problem. I love stuff like this.
Yeah, I know.
For me, I'm like, it doesn't strike me as too heavy, but to someone else, it's probably like unnecessarily heavy. Whereas I'm like, wow, I've always wanted to do a fight scene like that. And it, like, for bucket list, like really nailing the authenticity of it.
Yes.
Where the audience member may be like, that was a little too real.
Yeah.
And then I want to pop up out of the box and be like, it's just a movie.
Surprise. Welcome back to reality.
So yeah, I've reached an organization just to see if that's possible. Have they ever had therapists on site for potential triggers during a film screening event? And so I'm looking into it.
Yeah,
I'm like, I hope.
Right. I've never heard of that, but it is a very good idea to have that, you know, because people, I know I've walked out of films and sometimes if they're good films, they're going to make you feel something, you know, but I mean, my favorite film since I was like 5 was Casino by Scorsese. So like that was full, like, and my life has kind of unraveled in like the same type of genres that I like. So I feel like so connected to film because, you know, in being younger, I would watch these people and their circumstances and the resilience of overcoming certain things, even if it was violent or if it was difficult, like, and those people became kind of like family, you know, like for me, if I watched Robert De Niro, he was like, you know, he was my first crush when I was little, but like like watching him is like, you know, a family member that I would just want to hug, you know, like it's like certain people that have been a part of your life just from watching them in films. So for me, I definitely like, I know this is way off track, but that's what really kind of made me want to act. Just like the impact of actors since I was growing up was so strong that I feel like people are so influenced by other people, you know? And if like I want to create like a safe circle like of performance, or if somebody, you know, watches something and they see me, like I can be a positive influence on as a person as well. Like it's not me, it's a character, but you know what you bring to that character that really is like makes people feel something, you know. that connection, that, so I believe that, telling stories and sharing stories with people is like such a great gift to the world, because you're making somebody that may feel alone not alone anymore, and
Yes.
yeah, it's important,
Yes. And that's why I was saying, like, every community, every niche section of the world, and if you can really truly speak to an area, please do, because there's someone out there who hasn't seen themselves on screen yet.
Yeah.
We have had the topic of diversity and diversification across the board. People are getting sick of the same story.
Yeah.
We want to see more experiences. We want to see, the human condition. And it's not that we don't want to see a Marvel movie or whatever. They're going to keep making them. They're cool.
Yeah.
But in the independent world, I'm just in awe and in complete enjoyment with the magic that goes into passion projects. I could work on one every day.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, and I love being on set. I love I love the preparation of it. And so even, as an actor, when I'm on set for other things, I'm just always like watching, or, like making friends with, the crew, like, because you see them often, like in different sets and stuff, but like it's just, everybody is important, and there's a place for a job for everybody, and this is not a business that's like a one-man show. Like, you have, and having a really good team is like what makes the magic happen, I feel, and what everyone brings to it. And so I don't know, I applaud everybody that is a part of the cast and the crew, because each person played an important part to making this project happen. As with, all projects that I've done, like I've seen people really like putting time and dedication. I actually, like, I can't say her name, but I was a stand-in for a huge celebrity recently.
Ooh.
I'll tell you her name off camera, but I can't talk about it now. But she was, her dedication to getting things exactly as she wanted them. Like, I pulled 15 and 18-hour days. Like, it was such an inspiration as well. Like, so to see people in any stage, and she is just like you or me, like, I'm here to work and I'm taking this serious, and I don't want to leave until I have what I want, and it was just so empowering, because it's like, like every stage, it's just like how much time and effort and dedication that you put into your craft, you're gonna see it, like, come out. And it's been a beautiful ride, this crazy but beautiful, in the acting world, and connecting with people, networking. It's so small when you realize it. Once you're like more connected, like, oh, we're all connected, history. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited to have a special guest at the screening. Sandy Leiterman will be there. She's coming from being the Miami Film Commissioner to Fort Lauderdale now. I may have it wrong, but some presidency, vice president, president of Film Florida. So always staying in the,
circle.
yeah, the film world.
Yeah.
So that's really exciting, and some press and everything that all the goods. I can't wait. I really think we should do a reaction testimonial with you,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't know what is leading up to your part.
Oh my God.
It'll be fun to see, like, oh, that's what that was. Okay. You know, like,
Oh my God, I'm so excited to see it. I can't wait.
I want to see, like, a lot of the films I've done, people, I look in the audience and they're like watching it like this. Like, oh no. And the gasping, like, oh, don't do it. No. You know? And
Yeah.
I can anticipate a few moments, but again, I want to create something that's a feeling.
Yes.
I don't want you to walk away going, well, that was good. That was okay.
Yeah.
And it's forgotten. You'll remember this film.
Yes.
Whether you liked it,
Or
I don't know.
You're being the mother here, like whether you like it or not, you will remember it.
Remember it. That I'm very confident.
I love your shirt, by the way.
Yeah.
I didn't say that earlier. I want one. I need one. I heard about the merch drop, by the way.
There's some merch. Yeah, I'm telling people, like, the thing is with merch, especially with cast and crew, the earlier you are, the first look you have.
Yeah.
Once the sizes are gone, they're gone.
Yeah.
So it'll be so much fun to see the merch flying off. I did small runs because I was like, I don't know what people actually want. But yeah, it'll be super, super, like, I'm stoked about it.
I'm so excited.
Let me get to our final two questions, which are just about you, your perspective. What's the greatest lesson you've learned in life?
The greatest lesson I've learned in life is, you know, I've had a lot of health issues in my past and scares. And so sometimes I feel like I'm living on borrowed time. Like some things I'm like, I could have not survived that, you know, if we didn't have the medical technology that we have now, or the ways they do stuff, I could have easily died, you know? And so I think for me, it's giving myself the freedom to treat every day as an extra day, you know, and not wasting it in grief anymore. Like I spent most of my 20s grieving. So, you know, it's just that time in my life now where it's like, I want to do what makes me happy. And I want to have that limitless, like, I don't want to just be depressed or be sad, or, you know, like life is too short. And I've lost people at young ages, you know, like they are young for passing away. And so it reminded me always, like, life is so short, and, you know, don't really hold grudges or hold hate in your heart, because you're only hurting yourself, you know. And to give myself the freedom to live, because I felt guilty for a long time for being a survivor, you know, the whole survivor's guilt thing. So, you know, just, you know, allowing myself to live again has been like the most powerful.
Yeah, that's a profound statement, Clarissa. Because to be present to every day and to live it as though it is extra. This is your bonus day. What are you going to do with it? I'm consistently reminding myself and doing check-ins, and I'm very therapy positive forward with all of that for many, many years. It's been so helpful. And I'm always kind of like, there's a great quote, I'll paraphrase it. What are you going to do with this tiny, precious life? You know, this one wild and precious life or whatnot.
Mhm.
And when in reading that quote, I'm like, yeah, what are you going to do, Tabatha? You know, like,
Come on, girl.
because like you said, I've dealt with a number of losses,
Yeah.
some really complex, some very easy, some very confusing and the like. And I was like, whoa, you just aren't guaranteed tomorrow. So if you get up, manage that. Like really I try to do always a step in the direction of my dreams, at least a small step, something that is on my bucket list is something that I want to see done in this one small, wild, tiny life. And then kind of just in honor of those who have passed, to dance, to eat all the foods, to very hedonistically engage with life. And appreciate it at every turn and have your gratitude. And it's just, yes, more of that.
I know. I'm totally like, we're on the same wavelength there, girl.
And more films. All the films.
More films. All the films you could think of.
And then in closing, unless you have anything else you want to add, the final question is, if you had a magic door that opened to anywhere, where would you want it to lead?
I would like to open the magic door into Atlantis when it was above water. See what life was like then. If the colors were the same, if the smells were the same, how people were in that time. That would be a cool place. Because I always feel like Atlantis is like this portal into another dimension. In my brain, it's like we're stuck here on this, like in an airport until we transfer. So in my brain, it's always like that transfer, and you go into like, you know, a higher state of being, you know. So that's I think where I would go.
Yeah, wow. I don't even know.
Tabatha.
Yeah, I don't know what year that was, but I love the aspect of time travel. And yeah, where were they at? Like if we were in Florida, right? In South Florida, 10,000 years ago.
Yeah.
It would be very different. You know, like how cool and also bizarre. And just to see that, yeah, absolutely. Atlantis. What that spawned upon me was, are you familiar with vortices, like vortex, energetic vortex? So I went to Sedona and they have an area that has 3 vortices. And so it's the vortex of the feminine, vortex of the masculine, and vortex of balance or androgen. And I was like, what's up with these, you know, hippy dippy crystal crunching? Like, what is going on here? So I was like, I love trekking and hiking. So I was like, let me go visit these vortices. I am a believer in all things vortice, energetic pull. I was like, wow, I get it. And then when I studied more of the masculine versus feminine, it made so much sense to me that we are down here in South Florida and all through our ocean area, Atlantis included, is the most masculine vortex they've ever seen. Wow. It is ruled by the sun. It is a heavier, and then think about the machismo. Think about the amount of accidents that happen to pedestrians, car accidents, and the hustle and bustle that we are literally always dealing with, that does not happen in our sister vortex, which is the most feminine vortex that they have, claimed, which is in Portland, Oregon.
Wow.
So where if you go over 20 miles per hour, if you don't stop for it, like, you are seen as the villain.
Yeah.
Which I love.
Yeah.
Like, they're putting life above your urgency, right? It's down here. You were telling me you were recently hit on a cycle by a cyclist. Like, there's a number of our statistics for accidents in South Florida being in the Bermuda Triangle and having the highest operation of masculinity. I'm like, oh, that makes total sense.
It totally does. My daughter, she's been hit twice now. She got hit once when she was on her bike, and then the second time was like really bad. Like, the lady hit her going 30 miles an hour and she was walking, and here, it's like people, they don't even have the patience or it's not patience. It's like there's so much distraction in that chaos, and like you're saying, that makes so much sense of like that masculinity, because it's all push at every, and I went to California. It was interesting in January, and I realized like how different, I don't know like how it is over there, but how different it was. Almost a little bit like you're saying in Oregon, like they stopped selling menthol cigarettes, they stopped selling vapes, like certain things are illegal. And so I went there and I smoked menthol cigarettes and was like, they were like, you have to go to Nevada. I mean, luckily I was at Lake Tahoe, so I was like 5 minutes away from Nevada, but I was like, are you seriously telling me I have to go all the way to Nevada? Like, thinking it was so far at that time, but it was like 2 blocks away. But I was like, it was crazy, I felt the difference, and the pace and everything was very different than, not necessarily how I remembered it, but than here, I love my mountains and hiking and all of that stuff as well. So we're always out there with family. So
Florida is just a lot of people moved here. We had the highest statistic of people coming back and or newly, coming to stay during COVID, because we are like the anarchist state. We're like, live and let live, and you're like, oh shoot. Whereas other people are like, protect people, and we're like, whatever.
Right. I gotta get there now. I'm 2 hours late because of traffic, like.
But I love it here. I don't mind a little rudeness. I don't mind the masculinity. I feel very comfortable in a masculine environment. It's very, like there's Nat Geo moments, like when people are fighting over parking or
right.
You're like, okay. There's something refreshing about the rudeness that's very honest. There's some extremism.
I like the word you used right now, is honest, because I can handle that, especially being a veteran, like in the military. Like I can handle like strict or stern or what are you thinking? Like I can handle that, and I can be like, okay, I'm not gonna go there, but I'm here. So there is a comfort about it, I think, when you live here, and you become like, you're no longer like, for me, I was like a tourist for a while, and then it's like, no, I live here now. Like, okay, I'm not going to drive down South Beach during spring break. Like I thought riding my bike would be better, but obviously like, I even was, like I wasn't even on a street that there were cars, but it's a beautiful place. And I wake up and I walk, I'm right on the beach. The beach is like, waking up to seeing the ocean every morning is like life-changing, and the weather here, how you're saying, it's like so much hotter. It's perfect. I just can't be in the sun too much because I've actually had like burns. Like if I scratch a sunburn, it'll turn like brown. Like my skin is not like it like scars me almost because it's just so much different than California where I was living or grew up in Santa Cruz. So we're Central Coast, you know, different, completely different environments.
Yeah, off topic, how was the experience in the military? What was your, I guess, role and goal there, and how has it kind of influenced your acting as well?
So I was 42 Alpha. It was my job. I was human resource specialist when I came in, and then I went. My first duty station was in Korea, in South Korea, and I was working as a registered mail handler. So I was working an hour and a half from where I was based out of at the Incheon airport, and I would deliver registered mail to area 1 through 4 of South Korea. So it was beautiful because I got to see, you know, the land and different parts that you wouldn't normally go to as a tourist or as somebody that's not from there. I had a Korean driver for me, so he would drive and we'd have like the huge, you know, semis, and they would take out all of the mail stuff, but I had specific like registered mail. And so that I had to get clearances for and everything. And then I got pregnant with my daughter there, and I came back, and her father passed away recently, or like not recent, but like after that, after I had come back and then I had her. And so when all of those things had happened, I think that I was planning to reenlist, and I would have went to Germany, and then I would have went to Afghanistan. And I reenlisted. I was planning like, okay, I can get out my 20-year mark. I'll be 38 and my daughter will be 18 and I can start my new life. You know, like this, I wanted to continue. But yeah, after I had gotten married, because I didn't want to be a single mother raising her on my own, I got married and he passed away. And so since I was the sole survivor of my daughter and I wasn't able to continue my service. So yeah, they had to let me out on the family care plan and cancel my reenlistment. And so for me, it was like I didn't want to go back home. I didn't expect that to happen. You know, I had a whole plan of my life and what my life was going to look like. And it was just all taken away from me. Like I lived on base, so I lost my job. I lost my house. Like I was in South Carolina, like where I didn't have any family or support system other than the military. And so I went back to California, and, you know, that's when I started to go to Paul Mitchell, and I had ended up getting a tumor in my parotid gland while I was in Korea. And so when they did the surgery, they told me, you know, there's a high chance percentage because it's attached to your nerve that you can come out permanently partially paralyzed. And so, you know, I like prayed and prayed, and like I did a whole photo shoot the week before my surgery, like just in case, you know. And I stopped. I had like 2 months left of cosmetology school, and I stopped and I didn't end up going back because like after I prayed and I prayed, I was like, you know what, like if I come out and my face is fully functioning again, like and it's not cancer, like, you know, like I am going to do, you know, I'm going to follow, like, what do I really want to do? And I wanted to be an actor because it reminded me of those moments of, you know, these characters that had like this this huge mountain to overcome, and the resilience of it in film. It was like, okay, like I want to do that, you know, like this is like, I'm not going to be self-conscious anymore, like, because it was always like there's someone better than me, there's someone prettier than me, there's someone more educated than me, all of these things. So it's like, why would they pick me, you know? And that's where I was at that time in my life, you know? And so after I came out of surgery and my face was working and everything, I packed up my life and I moved to LA, and to Burbank actually, and I started the New York Film Academy there. And I loved it. And I started to do a TV show, and it was about like female entrepreneurs that are positive role models for the next generation of females. And so I came up with like this sanctuary idea for helping soldiers and veterans suffering with PTSD in a holistic manner instead of just pharmaceuticals. And so with that idea, it's kind of still like been happening in fruition, even in my writing now, you know, with the retreat and mental health and all of these things that I'm playing with, instead of it just being an everyday work right now, you know, because there's so many other elements that come along with it, that I want to write it first and see it first and see the negative things that can happen and find solutions to them before actually like opening up the door to it happening, you know, um, in reality. And so I, I think that with all of those things happening at a young age, I when I moved here, it was actually, I got into a jet ski accident, and um, I had it had hit my front of my face, and so it had like knocked my three, like not knocked my teeth out, but like chipped my three front teeth, and I had a frontal head injury, and it landed on my back because I like rolled forward because I had someone behind me, and I had severe strains throughout my whole neck and my back. And I did like a 5K like 10 days later. And I just like eliminated myself from like, I know. But my point of that story is when I came out of the water, like I hadn't lived here yet. And when I came out, like I remember everything was, I mean, I got hit really hard in the head, but like everything was so vibrant, and like the yellows were more yellow than normal yellow, you know, the whites were brighter white than normal white, like everything. And I didn't feel any pain, even though I was like scratched up and beat up everywhere. And so after the healing process, it was like 6 months of in and out of the hospital and stuff. Um and after that, like my mother had told me like, you're not the same as you were before, you know, like, and it was very emotional for her. And so I didn't remember how I was before. Like I didn't see the change other than like certain memories that I thought, like people that had passed, I thought were still alive. Like it was weird, like, or that they weren't really dead. It was like really emotional at that time. And so I came back here. I was like, this is like, I lost myself here, and I changed after that accident. And so I came back here to find myself. And in that journey of coming here and finding myself, like I was like, why, what can I come here for? And I found the New York Film Academy here in South Beach, and I was like, perfect, you know, like, and I moved here and I started school, and you know, I fell in love with who I became. It wasn't who I was before, but who I became being here, you know, and having a positive healthy method of dealing with that, I think. And great support. There's been, in this industry, I've met so many sweet people and so many caring people, you know, and I feel like uh all of that was my support system, you know. And so this whole industry is like a gift that I feel like I'm lucky enough to be a part of, and to be able to meet people that see the way that I see. You know, sometimes an artist isn't always understood, you know. But here I feel like, you know, people celebrate that artistic side of people so much more than in other places. And I don't know, I just feel like this is a great place to be and work with great people. And I don't mind the masculinity either. I know that was like such a long like circle of the military and how it like
No, it's an in-depth look at some of your layers, your onion, so to speak. And I really appreciate you spending the time with us. And and if you have any last thoughts, words, questions, comments, otherwise I'll take us off the live and we'll chat a little longer in the studio.
In the studio. No, I just want to thank you again, and thank all of the cast and the crew that made this part happen. And I'm so excited for March 28th. Everyone hear that? And you know, we'll I don't know, I'm really happy to be a part of this and to see the final project come to life. I'm very excited. So thank you, Tabatha, for having me and for making this live. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah. No, I sincerely can't wait. And again, if you're hearing this and you heard about March 28th, it is a private link-only affair. So you must know me or Clarissa or someone on cast and crew, but you can absolutely come. But viewer discretion is advised.
Yeah.
On behalf of that, we're saying au revoir, por favor, ciao, ciao, and bye-bye.
Yes, thank you so much.